Namhansanseong was constructed outside of the capital city of Seoul, on top of the Namhansan mountain to the south, with Hangang River serving as a natural moat. With 70% of the land being mountainous, there are a great number of mountain fortresses in Korea. Among those, Namhansanseong was constructed to tire out the enemy even before they reached the fortress. The advantageous features of the terrain were utilized to their fullest. The mountain itself acted as fortress walls. At an elevation of 500 meters, the height of the fortress walls reaches 7.5 meters and the perimeter 11.76 kilometers. Nestled at the center of the country, Namhansanseong is the most important strategic spot among all the mountain fortresses in Korea, built to protect the southern part of the Korean peninsula below the Hangang River. It also boasts the largest scale, and the original shapes of the fortress walls have been well preserved. Korea experienced frequent invasions by foreign forces. The basic strategy was to put away all food and supplies and retreat to the prepared mountain fortress to fight against the foreign forces. Namhansanseong differs from the typical fortresses built on flat lands in other countries, and from those constructed in a linear configuration, such as the Great Wall of China. Namhansanseong wasn't built just to protect the ruling class and important figures. It was designed and constructed to house the local residents in emergencies. The concept was to build a mountain fortress city equipped with features to enable the people to fight enemies from the inside together with the king. There are 4 main gates in Namhansanseong: south, west, north, and east. The magnificent South Gate is the largest gate and is the central point of Namhansanseong. Being closest in proximity to the capital city of Seoul, the West Gate was most useful for military purposes. The North Gate mainly played the role of a transportation conduit for military supplies brought from the Hangang River. Situated in a low-lying area, the East Gate featured tall stairs, and it was designed to prevent the passage of ox-drawn carts. Namhansanseong was first built in 672 of Shilla Kingdom. At the time, with its national survival at stake, Shilla was waging a fierce war against China's Tang dynasty. To protect the Hangang River basin, Shilla constructed the Chujangsong fortress to fight against the Tang dynasty. The fortress stones were shaped like kernels of corn, with each stone being elaborately processed for use. In the military storage facility, which was associated with fortress construction techniques of Shilla dynasty, large roofing tiles weighing over 20 kilograms each have been excavated. It was in 1624, during King Injo of Joseon dynasty's reign, Namhansanseong underwent the most significant change. It was a reinforcement construction done on the site of the Chujangsong fortress of Shilla Kingdom, and during the process, the civil engineering techniques of Joseon were reflected. As for fortress stones, the old stones were reused, as well as solid granite and gneiss easily found in the nearby rock fields. In the early 17th century, during the period of China's transition from Ming to Qing, the Qing dynasty invaded Joseon, and the harsh battlefield was none other than Namhansanseong. After the invasion by Qing China, Namhansanseong became a more solid and scientific fortress by applying the fortress construction techniques of Joseon. The vulnerabilities exposed during the war were reinforced, and a whole new concept of fortress configuration was introduced as well. On top of the fortress walls, parapets built with grey bricks that were effective against artillery attacks were installed. A parapet is a facility that enables soldiers to hide and shoot arrows or matchlocks. Built from actual battle experience, the 16 auxiliary gates were expanded for the clandestine movement of troops and supplies. The main point of the modification was the construction of outworks and installation of bastion with casemated embrasure for gun firing. Although outworks were intended as a protection structure for the fortress gates, the outworks of Namhansanseong were equipped with auxiliary gates and installed with bastions by protruding outwards from the fortress walls. As for facilities that a fortress would need to have for military work, Yeonmugwan, a commanding pavilion for military training where generals could lead soldiers' training, was installed. This Suojangdae Western Commanding Post is the only remaining of the 5 commanding posts, which were built for the generals. Chisudang, the pond-side pavilion, was where soldiers and horses could drink water, and it was used as a banquet place as well. In the late Joseon dynasty, the fortress was reinforced at every peak that surrounds Namhansanseong to counter long-range weapons. With this, Namhansanseong was reborn as a fortress that could cope with national crises as a military defense facility. Another fact about the fortress construction during Joseon that warrants our attention is that the construction was led by an army of monk soldiers comprised of Buddhist monks. The fortress was fortified and maintained by the monk soldiers. At the temples of monk soldiers, which at one time were in charge of construction and management, still to this day, monks continue to observe the Buddhist rituals of Suryukje and Yeongsanje. With over 300 years of history, Namhansanseong has had over 4,000 residents living there since the time of construction in the Joseon dynasty. The uniqueness is the combined functionality of being a walled town and the capital city. Within the mountain fortress is the palace, which was considered to be the heart of a nation. It is a place that used to be visited by generations of kings, and it is also the historic place where King Injo withstood for 47 days against the invasion of Qing China, while protecting the royal ancestral shrine and the altar of deities of earth and grain. The Namhansanseong Emergency Palace is equipped with the royal ancestral shrine and the altar for deities of earth and grain, which affirms its status of being an emergency capital. To this day, the people of Namhansanseong have safeguarded the old traditions. In Seungryoljeon Shrine, they still hold rituals for King Onjo, the founder of Baekje, and the general who was in charge of the fortress construction. Hyunjeolsa Shrine was built to honor the patriotism of those who opposed yielding to Qing China during the invasion. The shamanic ritual of Namhansanseong, a folk belief, is still practiced in Cheongryangdang Shrine. This was prepared to soothe the souls of those who met unfair deaths during the construction of the fortress. In Namhansanseong, there is the Martyrs' Shrine, where Christians were executed during the Catholic persecution in the early 19th century. The major facilities of Namhansanseong were intentionally destroyed during the Japanese occupation of Korea. To preserve those precious cultural values, the Namhansanseong Culture and Tourism Initiatives continues to conserve the original appearance via thorough research and studies based on various historical documents. We are confident that today's Namhansanseong is a wealth of inspirations for creation to modern-day people and serves as a source of creativity. Namhansanseong, a fortress blessed with natural defensive barriers, is a space of history that has breathed with us for hundreds of years. In numerous corners of Namhansanseong, stories and history from hundreds of years ago are still alive. And to this day, the history and stories of Namhansanseong still continue on.